Matthew continues on saying, then the devil takes him up into the holy city. Luke says, and the devil taking him up into a high mountain. There's a lot of ands in Luke. There's a lot of thens in Matthew. There's also a lot of ands in Matthew. Matthew kind of skips back and forth, but there's just a whole bunch of ands. I like putting then because it's clear that one happened, then the next thing happened. Not one happened and this next thing happened. So they might have happened at the exact same time. They could have happened in opposite order because it's one and the other. Which happened first? We don't know. I like then. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Read. Then the devil taking him up into a high mountain. Then the devil takes him up into the holy city and sets him on a pinnacle of the temple. Taking him up into high mountain, shows him all the kingdoms. Oh, look at that. They mix up the different temptations. You know what? I knew about this. Yeah. The first one's the same, but then in Matthew and Luke, they're opposite. The second is third, or the third is second, compared to Matthew. So, which should I go with? Should I go with Luke saying, he takes him to a high mountain and says, all this will be yours if you worship me. Jesus denies and says, you'll worship the Lord your God. And then in Luke, the third one is that he brings him up to Jerusalem and says, cast yourself down. The angels have their charge and will keep you. You'll not dash your foot against a stone. Jesus answered and said to him, it is said, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. I don't think I like that order because it's like he's going from the first of the final temptations is simple, right? These stones into bread. You're hungry, right? And he's like, nope, go away. My personal comfort is not that important to me. And then in Luke, it seems as if that second one, he swings way far and just goes right for everything. And he just says, worship me, and you'll get all the kingdoms of the world. And then Jesus denies him. And then it would be as if the third one is he takes him up to the temple, and then he takes it back down a notch and says, well, just jump off the temple because the angels will keep you from hurting yourself. Well, I don't know. Maybe he would do it that way. Try something simple with bread. Go all the way. Worship me and you'll get everything. And then when he realized you can't go for an easy out to gain the entire world, because that was the whole goal, that was the point. Jesus was going to do it anyway, but he's going to do it on his own terms. That Satan might have taken a step back and tried to stir up his pride and say, angels will protect you, just jump off. Prove that you are God, pretty much. Prove that you are the Son of God. I think that's actually what he says. He brought him to Jerusalem and set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you be the Son of God, cast yourself down from here. So the third time in Luke, it's as if he's saying, for the final temptation, he's saying, if you're the Son of God, just jump off, the angels will protect you. So simple. It's like he's going even more simple than the bread. In my personal experience, I know that when big temptations don't work, small temptations come my way. And if you give in to the small ones, eventually a slightly larger one is going to come in. And it's like that you give the devil an inch, he's going to take a mile. It's much more likely that he's just going to give you lots and lots of small temptations so that it becomes so much easier for you to go along with it. And then it's going to exponentially rise out of control until you are, worshiping him. I've never done that, but I can see the rise. I can see how things would gain momentum. That would sort of make sense if you would start with, turn these stones into bread. No? Okay, worship me. No? Alright, well, just jump off. Prove you're God. Prove you're the Son of God. Jump off. The angels will take care of you. It seems to make sense. Or it could be how it goes in Matthew. First, if you be the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. Okay, so he's saying if you be the Son of God in the first temptation anyway. If you be the Son of God, command these stones to be bread. And he answered no. The devil takes him up to a high pinnacle of the temple and said, if you be the Son of God, cast yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus says, no, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. And then in Matthew, the final temptation would be, the devil takes him to an exceeding high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and says to him, all these things will I give you if you will fall down and worship me. And Jesus says, "Get you from here, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." You know, I think that phrase, "Get you from here, Satan," was not in Luke. "Get you behind me, Satan," is slightly different. "Get behind me, Satan" is what he later says to Peter, so maybe it's just his pet phrase for, swiping away the temptation. Or he could say what he says in Matthew, "Get you from here, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God." I think it's more impactful when he says it to Peter, if it is exactly the same phrase he said to Satan himself. "Get behind me, Satan." Yeah, okay, but that still doesn't answer the question, what's the order? Does he go to the mountain for the second temptation and then the temple for the final temptation? Is the final temptation a simpler one? Just jump down, the angels will care for you? Or is the final temptation the big one? Just worship me and I'll give you everything. I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. When he says, "Get you behind me, Satan," that's the second rebuke in Luke. "Take him up into a high mountain, all the kings of the world in a moment of time. The devil said to him, all this power I will give you and the glory of them, for that is delivered to me, and to whomsoever I will give it. If you therefore will worship me, all shall be yours." So that's when he says, "Get you behind me, Satan." And then in Luke, the third one, he says, "It is said, you shall not tempt the Lord your God." And that's last. Okay, that's a bit of a weaker rebuke. I think it's more poetic if the final rebuke, the one that actually does silence Satan, is when Jesus says, "Get behind me." Because as it is in Luke, the final one was just Jesus said, "It is said, you shall not tempt the Lord your God," which is a rebuke, but it's not quite as strong. It doesn't have the oomph of him telling Satan directly, "Get you behind me, Satan." So it seems to me that one, at least in my opinion, would have been last if that really was what shut Satan up. So maybe it was this wording, "Get you behind me, Satan," as Luke, but maybe it was in the other order as put in Matthew. Yeah, that's the order. The second one is going to be at the temple, as in Matthew. And then the third final temptation, the final temptation, is going to be also as it is in Matthew. He takes him up to a mountain, but instead of saying, "Get you from here, Satan," he's going to say, "Get behind me, Satan." Then the devil takes him up into the holy city, and he brought him to Jerusalem and set him on a pinnacle. I have to add Jerusalem from Luke. And set him on a pinnacle of the temple. And sets him on a pinnacle of the temple. Okay, so then takes him up into the holy city. Brought him to Jerusalem. I personally like Satan brought him to Jerusalem, not takes him to Jerusalem, because brought is, less forcing, and it's very clear the devil has no authority over Jesus to forcibly take him wherever he wants. But brought could be Jesus is acquiescing to go through the temptation and prevail, but he's not being forced anywhere. I like brought. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I don't know. I mean, I have to pick one or the other. And the devil takes him into the holy city, and he brought him to Jerusalem. I'm going to put brought. Then, from Matthew, the devil. Yeah, I'm going to put the devil, because in Luke it just says he brought him. And I like it when they clearly define who he is, who him is. Then the devil brought's from Luke, him, from both Matthew, up into the holy city. Back to Luke, Jerusalem, and set him on a pinnacle. And sets. And set. So I'm going to have it as Luke. Set without the S. Set him on a pinnacle of the temple. You know, this Satan sets Jesus on a pinnacle. It really sounds a lot like control and manipulation and movement, where Satan is like picking up Jesus and putting him on a stand. It's like, here, I want you to look, and I'm gonna like lift you and drop you where I want. Sets him on a pinnacle of the temple. I'm just gonna leave it as it is, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, and said or says, if you be the Son of God, cast yourself down. If you be the Son of God, cast yourself down from here. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you. He shall give his angels charge concerning you. I want to go with what I know. I like Luke so far. And said to him, if you be the Son of God, cast yourself down from here. For it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you. Charge concerning you or charge over you? I think charge concerning you, but it's a quote from Psalm 91, 11 through 12, so I'm going to go back and read it. For he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. They shall bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. So it clearly says over, but this is as if it's talking about people. No, I'm just going to leave it over. He shall give his angels charge over you, because that's the most direct copy from what is being quoted. To keep you. And in their hands, I wonder if Matthew continues on with this. And in their hands they shall bear you up. And in their hands they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone. You dash your foot against a stone. Okay, they are exact after this point. And there in both is italicized. Hands, they shall bear you up, lest at any time you dash your foot against a stone.